Hey there. Before we get started, I just wanted to come on and ask you all a favor. In our research, we've discovered that the vast majority of you do not actually like and subscribe to our podcast. And so, if I could ask you to do so, I won't ask you for anything else. And I promise to make this podcast the best I can every day. Me and the team really strive to do that for you. And so, if you could do this for us, we would be eternally grateful. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Mikkel Weber, founder and auteur of House of Peregrine. Expat, immigrant, pioneer, none of these were a fit, but Peregrine describes what we are all about perfectly. Those that craft their life story with intention. I've spent the last 6 years in awe of the life-changing connections and stories I have experienced while living abroad, and believe it is time for this adventure to be recognized, celebrated, and elevated to the life stage that it is. Through these interviews, I hope to connect those living internationally more deeply to both the place they are living and with themselves and those around them. We cover everything from international finances and meaning-making to global parenting and relationships to make your time abroad more intentional, edifying, and full of beauty. Find us at houseofperegrine.com, where you can find more ways to connect with the ethos of Peregrine. I hope you enjoy today's guest. Let's get started. Today we're talking to Sara Budhwani. She is the founder of Microdose Together, an initiative to spread more awareness around microdosing psilocybin socially. The brand is centered around educating and eliminating stigmas around psychedelics. Sara grew up in Toronto and has worked in marketing and PR at some of the top agencies in the world in categories such as cannabis, automotive, apparel, beauty, technology, alcohol, and more. With Microdose Together, she hopes to engage people who would never try microdosing because of misinformation and fear. By combining psilocybin with other plants, her teas support your intention and serves as a great introduction to begin exploring the wonderful world of microdosing. Welcome, Sara.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I want to start out by saying I really love what you're doing with Microdose Together. When I saw it, I immediately reached out because I think you're doing something really special. But before that, I want to get to know you a little bit and how you became a Peregrine. So why don't you start with just telling us a little bit about how you grew up and your early career in advertising?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I grew up just outside of Toronto in Canada. And I've always known that I was a creative soul. So I wanted to explore that. And the way that I explored that was through being a creative in marketing and advertising. So I started my career early days working at ad agencies as a creative, more on the art directing side. And I quickly grew into being a little bit more of a strategic thinker and focusing more on those big ideas and working with a lot of different clients, agencies. I've really spread myself thin. And
that you get really iteration, like you get to, it's like when I worked in advertising, it's like you get to do so many things and grow so much, but it's really intense. It's really intense.
Yeah. That was very much my approach. That's why I loved working at agencies, because I got to work on so many different things. Every brief was always different, always a different challenge. And I really enjoyed that about that culture. But of course, when it comes to building stuff and making ads for brands, it's usually never your best work. You always have to try to really sell creativity. So it can be very challenging sometimes. And I knew that I wanted to transition more into the strategy side. So I've always wanted to come to Amsterdam. I've always had this dream, this calling to this place. I don't know why, but I always knew that.
You don't remember the moment when you're like, Amsterdam.
No, I actually never even been here. And I was like, I think I should be in Amsterdam. And I don't know why. I just had this feeling. And I knew that the marketing and advertising industry here was quite big. All the big agencies were here. So I always saw it like as a career growth opportunity. And then I finally got a job here working at an agency. And I was there for a year, and that's where I really started to transition more into being a strategic creative. And that's also when basically COVID happened. And so I left the agency after a year and was kind of stuck trying to find a job because obviously nothing was available at that time. But it ended up being a silver lining because I went into freelancing, and that was the best thing I could have done. So freelancing for me really gave me my own voice. It allowed me to just really get deep into myself and bring my purpose out into my work. And so I would really focus on purpose-led clients and projects, which was, fulfilling my soul a little bit more. And I really, really loved that experience. I was able to really foster my entrepreneurship and grow a lot more than I would have if I was just working a full-time job.
Yeah, makes sense. So you were doing you are still, but you were doing freelance work, and then as a strategist, but then somehow one of your big ideas comes to you. Tell us that story.
Yes. So during 2020, basically at the start of the pandemic, when everyone was like, oh no, I around that time discovered microdosing, and I was just using it because it was legal in the Netherlands. So I was just seeing it, hearing about it, and you can easily just buy it online and try it out. So we're very lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
So I just tried it out. And then again, my curiosity, just like how I approach work, I was like, okay, I want to try all the drugs. I want to try all the different methods of consuming these drugs and basically do like a whole holistic approach to what's the best way to microdose. And in that whole experience, I had so many good benefits. I noticed that I had so much more energy. My mood was improving. I was just like waking up with like ready to start the day, opposed to like waking up and like, oh, this and that and this and that. And also my creativity in work was, I saw a lot of benefits there as well. So it was working really well for me. But it was something that I wouldn't really share with a lot of people. It wasn't something, I would openly just say on a work call, yeah, I microdosed this morning. It's something that you just really keep to yourself. And so this was working really well for me. And then I started to look for other ways to microdose. And that's when, at the same time, I was starting to get off of alcohol because my hangovers were just horrible. And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. So one day I was like, you know what, why don't I microdose instead of drinking alcohol? And I was going to like some sort of social gathering. And that worked really well for me. I was like, okay, when you microdose socially, there are some benefits. You don't feel like you need to drink alcohol. You get energy and you get this like ease of social anxiety, which for me as an introvert, I really need. So yeah, that was showing to be a really positive experience. But the issue was that I was still doing it by myself. And B, not only was I being alienated because I wasn't drinking alcohol, but now I'm being extra alienated because everyone thinks I'm on shrooms and, getting high on my own. Meanwhile, obviously that's not the case.
Right.
So I noticed that there was a huge white space or basically challenge of trying to bring microdosing more into a social setting.
Yeah. And so and I noticed this too, it's like this big, well, and maybe I always wonder this actually, because I grew up in North America as well. Like, is it the war on drugs that then everyone thinks you're a druggie? Is it my perception or is it actually other people's, perception? But I don't usually talk about it unless someone else brings it up first.
Exactly.
Even though as I've gotten older or maybe more in tune with my body, drinking is actually really takes its toll, and also coffee takes its toll. And so I think for me, it also, I had the similar experience where I was like, how do I use this? But then you just start wanting other people to as well.
Exactly. And I was really lucky in that time period because it was when we had all those lockdowns and curfews. And so there was nothing else to do. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to invite some friends over and make them a pot of tea. It'll be on the table. If anyone wants to drink it, they can. If they don't, they can bring their alcohol, just being very like, this is what I'm doing. If you want to participate, please feel free. Yeah. And so I just kind of made it a little bit more accessible. Obviously with tea, it just becomes a drink. People already know and familiar with tea. And also by drinking it in tea, you get to dose it better. if you're consuming it by eating it, you can have this unexpected, like crazy feelings, or all of a sudden the peak just comes at you just like that. But with drinking, it's a little bit more of a slower experience. You're not going to get that all of a sudden feeling like it just kind of hits you in the face, and you're able to dose it easier. So I was, just basically trying to introduce it to my friends in this way. And the results were amazing. I mean, I remember, I'll never forget, like one Christmas day, we were all drinking the tea and we stayed up late and we were just dancing all night. We had lots of laughs. We were just all connecting and, really getting along with each other. And I was just like, this night was so magical. And obviously there was the tea involved, but I'm like, I'm seeing more and more of these moments of the tea just helping to elevate these experiences and just add that little bit of shine, that little bit of magic, that just makes it a little bit more connecting, So after that, I was like, okay, I think there's something here. I think more people need to know about this. And then next thing you know, I had more and more friends starting to ask me for these tea blends. And so I just started.
And I want to talk about the tea blends actually. So I think maybe our listeners don't know, but I just want to kind of go over. So when you normally microdose, it's only the psilocybin usually. And in the Netherlands, that's legal. You can have it delivered to your house, and it's like you don't get high, you don't feel much, but you start cumulatively noticing the effects. It's very, very, very subtle. And what you've done now, and when you say a tea blend, if people look at what you've created, it is you've actually brought in other kind of what do we call them? I mean, they're plants, but they're also like natural things. How would you? Yeah, adaptogens. Yeah. So you've brought in other adaptogens to the mix that I would say hones your intention, helps you hone your intention with this blend. So talk a little bit about that if you would, because I'm sure it's maybe a little bit of trial and error, but the effects of these adaptogens are pretty well documented usually.
Yeah. So basically when I started microdosing and when I started making these tea blends, I was just reading all the research, all the knowledge on microdosing, and I discovered the stacking protocol. And the stacking protocol was very interesting to me. So I've always been a lover of tea, so making tea was just in my human nature already. And then next thing you know, I'm like a little bit of a witch in my kitchen, just mixing a bit of that and mixing a bit of that, and just started to make all these different blends. And I realized that because the truffle doesn't taste really good, it's quite challenging to make a delicious drink with something that doesn't taste good. So I was starting to explore all these different tastes and blends that can really hide the taste of the truffle, so it actually becomes a delicious drink. And then on top of that, I was adding these plant-based ingredients that are known in stacking protocols with microdosing. So this was something, it's not very heavily researched. It's quite a new-ish concept, but the idea of taking a microdose plus stacking it with something like lion's mane or vitamins or ashwagandha or cordyceps. And these are all plant-based ingredients that promote very positive balance and change in your body. And so when I started to discover that, and I was like, oh, if I microdose plus the lion's mane plus the vitamin and then plus the tea, I'm like, this synergy is working so much better than just the microdose on its own. Now, saying that, I do recommend that if you've never tried microdosing, to definitely try microdosing on its own as well, because it's helpful to understand the feelings that come from the microdose and the feelings that come from all the other ingredients. So obviously, if you're combining them, you're not going to know what's coming from what. So I always recommend to try the microdosing on its own, but then also try it with the stacking. And with the stacking, you can get creative. You can be like, okay, I'm feeling a bit brain foggy today, so I think I need something to cure that. And then that would be lion's mane. Or you're like, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety today, I need something to calm me down. Then that would be ashwagandha. And then obviously just knowing these ingredients and knowing how to use them is the best way to understand how you're feeling and how to pair it with something that works. And
but what I love about what you're doing is you've done a little bit of the research. So you have these tea bags that are already ready to go. And so if you don't have time right now to become an expert at your own body, you can kind of rely on the feelings that you want from these blends that you've come up with, which is what I really appreciate. And then you can kind of part it out. It's not like if you do this first, you can't go back and microdose the normal way. But I feel like this gives you a little bit more support, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And when I started to just make all these different blends, that was exactly how, honestly, this came so organically. I was just making this for myself. So, for example, Morning Shine is one of the blends that has the lion's mane in it. And I would make that for myself in the morning, and I would be like, I want to be focused and productive. So I want something like this. And then I would make that. And then I'm like, okay, this works for that intention. And then I just started to think all these different intentions that I could really benefit from microdosing with. And that's where all these different blends came from. And so we started with really 3 blends. Because of course, more and more friends started to asking me for this. And then I also just did more research in the microdosing space in the Netherlands. And I realized that, a lot of people are just, reselling you truffle and be like, here you go, have fun. And I was like, no, I want to create something more unique, more interesting, already make these blends for people so that, they have everything they need, just so, because obviously when it comes to socializing, you just want to pick something up and drink it. Right. So I'm trying to make it as convenient as possible as well. And so, that's basically how it started. And then obviously as more and more customers started to come and drink the teas, I started to think of more functionalities like, something to do with your partner and date nights, or, something to help you sleep better. And then all these different blends started to come. And now we have 9 blends with all different intentions, taste profiles, and ingredients.
Yeah. And when I first came across you, this is what I love the most. And let me just kind of go on a tangent for a second. So for me, microdosing has always seemed incredibly, not only not like secretive, but like extremely masculine as well, which is not a bad thing or anything, but it seems like it's very technical to get started. And so for me, that was quite a shame because it's not that technical. It's really, but sometimes when you have a job and kids and it's, you really want to try something, but you don't have time for the headspace of getting into something technical. And so I think microdosing kind of has been made possible by not possible, but it's been brought into vogue by like tech executives and this sort of thing. And that makes total sense with how it worked before. But my own experience has been that it's such an essential experience to have support from plants that what you're doing makes me so happy because it makes it so it takes the technical part away if you don't have time for it. And you can kind of set an intention and have that support without knowing everything about it. And so I think that is what really drew me to what you're doing, because people can go deep if they want. And of course, we live in the Netherlands, one of the places where it's very, very much legal right now, at least, hopefully. And so that's also how I started. It was, I want to try this. I've always wanted to try it, but it's safe here. And I hope it becomes more and more legal elsewhere. But I think also it's scary to stack at first. And so for me, my experience was I didn't realize how the synergies are so powerful, but unexpected. And they're not powerful in a scary way. They're just in a way that you notice. And so being able to bring those together in also an intentional way where I don't have to think about it is, for me, for a mom of 3 that has a business and a full life, it's an amazing gift to have a product like this, to be able to grab when I don't have time to be as technical or as intentional as maybe weeks when I'm heavily into a process or working through something. And so I think for everybody, it's a way of bringing people into this. I don't even want to call it a tool, but it's like an experience of what would you call alcohol? Like when you drink alcohol, like that's an experience, I guess. Is it a tool? I don't know. But to bring like this, it's a stimulant, but it's a really, really beautiful way. So I want to congratulate you on that. But that's been my experience in the microdosing, psilocybin world, and also with adaptogens as well. It's very, very technical still. And so I applaud you for that. So tell me how you chose the adaptogens rather than just yourself. Like, this is a lot of research. I can tell. I've done it myself. And so the research you've done is like, it's not easy to put together always. So how did you came from yourself, but like, sometimes you can choose multiple things, and everything you're doing is legal. We should say that.
Yes.
All the adaptogens. Tell us the difference between a psychedelic and an adaptogen.
Yes. So basically the psychedelic has the psychoactive component to it. So obviously if you were to take truffles in high doses, you are going to hallucinate. You will have this, intense experience, which obviously is a whole separate conversation. But with
that's a far away from what you're doing, actually.
Yes. Yeah. So microdosing and macrodosing are very two separate conversations. People who macrodose don't necessarily microdose, and people who microdose don't necessarily macrodose. I mean, microdosing very much allows you to be prepared for a macrodose, for example. But for me, I see it as two completely different type of people will do these two things, right? So it's a very separate conversation, and we only focus on microdosing because that's what's safe and that's what's functional in a social environment. And so the psychoactive component is the one that has that ability to do that in higher doses, of course. But in smaller doses, it's not happening so intensely. You're not getting those hallucinations, but those psychoactive benefits are happening in the background. So you are experiencing things like neuroplasticity and just more openness and connectedness and all these feelings. They're not intense feelings. You don't feel them intensely, but you do feel them in the background. So that's the psychoactive part. The other adaptogens, the plant-based ingredients that are non-psychoactive, they do not get you high in that way. And they all have their own functionality to them, but their main responsibility is to help rebalance things in your body. So for example, cordyceps, which is a mushroom, that helps with ATP production in your body. And those are the cells you need for energy. It's going to look at your ATP production and be like, okay, let's balance this out and let's, promote a little bit more ATP in there so that you get a bit of an energy boost. So they're really good for you, and they're not considered an adaptogen if they have any risks associated to them. Of course, if you're taking medications and stuff, that's the time to really look into these adaptogens more and see how they're synergizing with your medication. But if you're not on medication, they're very healthy, they're very safe for you, and it's very, you can take these almost every day. You can almost see them almost like vitamins. They're very helpful for your body.
Yeah, and quickly, because if people are on medication, it's good to check in because of the way they interact with the medication.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And so that they're powerful, but not in a way that you feel necessarily.
Yeah. The lion's mane, for example, I think this is by far the most popular one and by far my favorite one.
Yeah, me too.
Lion's mane is a mushroom, and it helps with neuroplasticity as well. And it helps with focus and productivity. So, I take lion's mane almost every day during the weekday. And I take it in the morning, and it really helps me get in the zone and just be like, and then at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, wow, I was very productive today, but I didn't really realize it in the moment. Right. So it's, again, more of that background thing. And then if you go off of it, so if I spend 2 weeks without lion's mane, I notice the difference then, that's when it's like, okay, I need that lion's mane back in my life. So yeah, it's not a very obvious feeling, but then when you combine it with the psilocybin, with the truffle, and they're synergizing and they're working together, those benefits that you would feel just by taking the adaptogens alone or taking the truffle alone are all of a sudden much more enhanced, and you really feel that synergy working together.
Yeah. And do you think that, so are adaptogens effects more cumulative? So the first day you feel less than the second day, or not feel, but like the effects compound and then they compound less? Or do you think... Okay. So
when it comes to the adaptogens, even with the truffle, you definitely start to notice more of the benefits the more you take it. So that's why protocols are very popular in the microdosing world. And, a lot of people approach microdosing a little bit skeptical or scared, and they want to do the right thing. the secret is there is no right thing.
Yeah.
The right thing is what works for you. And you'll do research and you'll find all these protocols of people that are using it and it's worked for them. That's great. But just keep in mind that the intention is to find your own protocol. So, do what you feel safe with, but at the end of the day, it's really up to you.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the big messages is this is a little bit of a journey of self-discovery in a way of how your body can best be supported by this type of plant or adaptogen. And so I think that's something really beautiful that doesn't have, and in what you're saying, and I think creating is a way to do that in a more integrated way with real life. And I really like that. And so the protocols, do you have a protocol for your teas that you recommend people start with?
Yes.
Just to get a baseline.
We have a happy tea protocol. And this is just based on us drinking happy tea all the time and then trying to understand what works and what doesn't work. So our protocol is to do it once or twice a week. And the reason for that is because obviously when you're adding the truffle plus the adaptogens, it's a bit more of an enhanced experience. So the key is balance. So if you were to do that every day, you might get a little bit too intense, a little bit too enhanced, right? And then if you go anything over, obviously there will be a little bit of a drop. So we always recommend once or twice a week, and that's with the truffle. Obviously, when it comes to the adaptogens by themselves, and all our tea blends, just to mention, are separate. So you get the truffle and you get the tea blend, and then you have to put it together. But all the tea blends obviously work on their own. It's just not as enhanced as it would be when you add the truffle. But the adaptogens are still there and they're still going to give you a positive effect. So you could use the tea, for example, every day if you wanted to on its own, and then just add the truffle once or twice a week. That's what I do. I drink the tea almost every day with the adaptogens, and then I add the truffle usually just on the weekend when I'm socializing. Or if I wake up in a really bad mood and I need a reset, then I'll add some truffle to my tea. But yeah, that's what we recommend. And most of our customers, they're experiencing both okay, I can improve my mental health in a couple different ways. But then I also want to reduce my alcohol intake and improve my social life. So there's a bit of, I want to improve individually and I want to improve externally. So that's why doing it twice a week is really nice, because during the week you can do it for yourself. And then on the weekend, you can do it with friends. And that balance of the two, makes the benefits work even better.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is beautiful, because I think that's the most subtle way of integrating it into your everyday life. If you don't have time for the other end of the extreme, like a week-long journey or a 3-day journey, or just learning a microdosing protocol. And we all need more support for our bodies in general. So I think it's beautiful.
100%.
Do you recommend staying with the same adaptogens all week?
No, I think with the adaptogens, like I said, they do work better if you're using them more regularly. And of course, when you have an intention and you're setting that intention, you want to get a goal at the end of that. So I would say once you've kind of started to reach your goal, then it's good to reset. So take some time off of it and then see how your body reacts. And then if you're like, oh, I need it again, then obviously try it again. But for me, I like to switch it up based on how I'm feeling. I really am very intentional with when I choose my adaptogens. So like I said, lion's mane is pretty consistent. I pretty much use that every day because I'm always needing that focus and productivity. But for example, some days when I'm feeling like I have very low energy, then I'll throw in some cordyceps in there. So I think some adaptogens you'll notice work really good for you, and those are the ones to keep more on a regular schedule. And then there's the adaptogens that you just need based on how you're feeling, and those ones you can kind of put in here and there.
Did you know that House of Peregrine has an app? It is full of resources, information, and products to make life as an international more connected and more intentional. As a member of House of Peregrine, you also now have access to exclusive discounts, products, guides, and events to make life more fun and connected. Simply download the app at houseofperegrine.com and save it to your home screen. Okay, back to the show.
Yeah, cool. And have you seen, this is a separate question, so new question. Have you seen a difference in how these adaptogens or the microdose affect men and women differently, or different cultures? Or is there anything that you can say? Because this is such a personalized experience, but can you give us some guidelines? Because I think you've made it accessible, but I think it's really a beautiful thing for everyone who is interested in this sort of thing. So tell me if you've noticed any nuances there.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. When it comes to microdosing, it is a very personal thing. So as I mentioned before, you need to find your own protocol. You need to find out what adaptogens work for you. So it's been quite a challenge to create something as accessible to the most general public as possible, right? But obviously, just through our research and by serving these teas to so many people, we've come to a general consensus. And once you try that, then you can then adapt it to yourself. So, for example, we say that a happy dose is 2 grams, and 2 grams of truffle, obviously using it in tea, so it's being extracted. You're not consuming the full truffle. And we say this because 1 gram is a bit too low. 1 gram is really good if you're using it and you have a very busy day and you need to focus and get work done, so that it's not too much and it keeps you in a focused mood. But if you're socializing and you want to feel a little bit of something, and you want to feel stimulant, then 2 grams is a really happy dose for most people. And so this is what we always recommend. And this is kind of how we guide customers through their shopping experience. But what we've noticed is that men and women do react differently to the dosage. So, for example, my happy dose is 2 grams. When I'm socializing, that's what I'm going to start with. But for example, some guys that I know, their happy dose is 3 grams. So they need a little bit more. And we notice this in events that we serve as well, is that the men tend to not feel it as much as the women. So of course, this is case by case example. It depends on your body mass and all these things. But generally speaking, men need about 1 gram more than women.
Okay. Tell me about your events. I really loved hearing about this. I love the idea of this. So tell me a little bit about how you guys are approaching events.
Yeah. So events for us are really big, and it's something that brings us so much joy, because we are, at the end of the day, trying to show up with an alternative. And any event you go to, you're not even thinking about it. You know there's going to be a bar there. You know there's going to be alcohol served, And then to show up and be like, or you have happy tea. It's a bit of a... We really love the reaction we get from people, because they're just like, oh, what's this? Oh, cool. I would have never thought about this. And it's like, yeah, that's why we're here. So we really like events, and we do a whole range of different types of events. We've been to festivals serving our tea. And
do you serve it? Sorry to interrupt. I'm trying to paint a picture. So do you serve it as like a beverage, like over ice or something? And also for people who want to maybe try it, you can serve it multiple ways. It's not just a tea. You can also put it over ice or these things.
Yeah. So how we serve the tea in events is we create concentrates of the tea blends. So we have these concentrates already ready to go. And then basically it's just combining the concentrate with the water. And that way we can choose if we want cold water or hot water. So depending on the event. So for example, we did one recently at a bachata festival. Everyone's dancing, sweaty. They don't want hot tea. They want something cold. So we can do it both hot and cold. And you actually get to make your own drinks. So you have to crush the truffle yourself, because we're not allowed to serve you the crushed truffle already. So you have to make it yourself. So it's actually quite a fun experience, because you get to crush the truffle, add it to the drink, and then you give it to one of our tea tenders, is what we like to call them. And basically it's like a cocktail experience. So they're shaking the drink and the truffle together to give you basically a mocktail with truffle. So we try to adapt the same experience as a bar. It's just all we're changing is the drug. And the fact that you get to make it yourself just makes it more interactive. You have more of that intention moment. And it's just nice to know what you're drinking, of course.
Yeah. No, I really love that idea. And also, I don't think that you're trying to replace alcohol. You're just trying to be like, look, there's another experience, which I think is really lovely. I would show up to that party, because it's it's having more choices is nice. And I don't know if I would go only be like, oh, get rid of alcohol. It's like, no, just like, I want another option,
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about alcohol for hours. I have so
yeah.
many thoughts on alcohol. It's something that's been in society and ingrained in society for so long that to get rid of it would be pretty much impossible. It's like getting rid of cigarettes, I think alcohol is the new cigarettes. I think eventually there's going to be a lot more constraints on it, a lot more judgment towards it. But it's going to take some time to get there. I think that with what we're trying to do, obviously, we would love it if alcohol was just evaporated and that, we could provide this healthier alternative option. But it's not for everyone. I mean, some people just like their booze and they like that feeling that it gives them. Alcohol focuses more on a dopamine rush. And then our happy tea focuses more on boosting serotonin. So obviously dopamine and serotonin are quite similar, but they are different. And so some people react better to enhanced dopamine than enhanced serotonin, right? Everyone's different. So at the end of the day, we're just an alternative, but we would like to be seen basically we're trying to remove the stigma. So the stigma that we have with truffles, we want to bring that stigma to alcohol and make it seem more like, cigarettes. That's the way it really should be in my mind. So,
yeah. Well, so that's your conviction is you can provide the connection, the social lubrication that alcohol brings without maybe the negative health outcomes.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, once I started to discover it myself and my friends started to discover it, it was like, to me now, alcohol makes absolutely no sense because I get the same feelings with both and they both do the same thing that I want, which is a stimulant and ease of social anxiety and making me happier and in a better mood. But yet alcohol comes with a hangover and then all of a sudden this dopamine rush actually brings negative effects. It makes my anxiety higher during the week. It makes me sleep worse during the week. There's all these other negative effects that come with it. Also, alcohol is making me escape kind of the situation I'm in, opposed to make me feel better about the situation I'm in. It makes me lose my memory. It makes me bring out this other personality that I actually don't really know. There's so many things that alcohol does. And then on the other hand, happy tea will make you feel more like yourself. It will actually make you connect better to yourself, and that makes it easier to connect better with other people. It's going to all of a sudden give you these great conversations that you never thought that you could really have with someone. There's so many positive benefits to that. So when I look at alcohol, I'm like, why would I even do that? It makes no sense to me anymore. But I get it. For some people, it's going to take a long time for people to really make transition to seeing that alcohol is actually doing worse than it is doing better.
Yeah. For me, it's really changed to intentionally drinking alcohol. So if I really want to have a beautiful bottle of red, I still do it, but I know the consequences. There's going to be consequences. But for other, I just feel like I have more options like you're talking about. But so for me, it's made me because before there's only one tool to be social. And now there's more, which I think is really, really nice. And also I kind of missed out on drug usage as a teenager because of where I grew up. And so I got to kind of skip over learning the hard way on drugs, if that makes sense, and just skipped kind of to the more internal journey that they provide or can provide. So for me, I had to learn the hard way with alcohol. I was too old to start learning the hard way with something else, even though I knew it had benefits. And so I think that's been my journey, maybe other people too. And living in a place, even for a time, where you can kind of start that journey, I think is actually a huge advantage. And so this is kind of a unique company in that you can only start at a few places in the world. Is that true?
Yeah.
Do I have that right? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, some countries it's legal to have possession over it, but it's not legal to create a business with it and sell it. So we are very fortunate. And another reason why I feel like my calling to Amsterdam was was something to do with this.
Yeah. I really think I was brought here to heal, and
Yeah.
plant medicine has been I don't even like to call it plant medicine, but plant experiences with other things has been part of it. So I totally feel you on that.
Yeah.
So give me just a quick, like, I want to have some friends over. Maybe I have a book club. Maybe I have a party. Maybe I have some moms and we want to try happy tea together. Would I make one pot of tea for, say, 4 people? Is that how you would do it? Like if you're going to be together, maybe so for 2 hours, how would you recommend?
Yeah. So there's different ways you can approach it. We actually have a lot of resources about this on our website. It really depends on the amount of people. So if you're doing 4 people, then it's quite easy to share a pot of tea together. You just want to make sure that there's about 2 grams per person in there. So it's 4 people, you would want 8 grams. And then all our tea blends work for about 4 to 5 grams. So you would probably want 2 tea bags so that you have enough water to serve that many people. So it's kind of just like a simple calculation you have to do to figure out what you need.
Yeah. And tell me just quickly, I just want to compare this to alcohol because we have wine at events all the time. So for 4 people, how does the cost of that compare to buying a bottle or 2 of wine?
Yeah. So if you were to get 2 tea bags with 4 grams each, they can range between like 13 to 15 euros for that. And so if you're just getting 2 of them, then it's around like 25 to 30 euros and then split by 4 people. So it's very equivalent to like 2 bottles of wine And that's exactly our approach as well. It's like we want to make this seem like it's equivalent pricing to getting a bottle of wine, but not equivalent when it comes to benefits.
Yeah. And you would just drink the tea. And I'm just trying to paint a picture for people. So we would have the tea and then we would keep drinking the tea, or do you just dose it once?
Yeah. So the tea bags that we make are, consider them like supersized. They're really big tea bags. So they're not meant to just, they're not just meant to put in one cup because then it would be too concentrated. So it's meant to go in a big pot. And then if you're using 2 tea bags, each tea bag can make around 1.5 liters of water. So if you're using 2, you're going about like 3 liters now. And you can always re-steep it and re-pour water and get another steep out of it. But the way that we like to think about it is think about how many cups per person. So if you're with 4 people and each person needs about 2 to 3 cups per person or more, then you just want to make sure you have enough liquid for that. And then you would just calculate that based on the tea bag that you have. But another way to do this, let's say you have more than 4 people, then we always recommend that each person has their own dose in their cup. So basically, if someone wants 2 grams, maybe someone wants 3 grams, maybe someone wants 1 gram. That way you can choose the dose based on what you know that would work for you. And if you don't know, obviously, then you can just try whatever you feel comfortable with. And let's say everyone has 2 grams in their cup. Yep.
Yeah. So they'd have the dose of psilocybin in their cup, and then you would pour the tea on top.
Exactly. And we sell like little tea bags that you would put the truffle in so that it's not like floating in your cup, because that's gross as well. Obviously, we're trying to extract it. You don't want to consume the full thing unless you want to, but that's not our intention. And so, you would have this truffle tea bag in your cup and then keep just pouring more liquid on it. And then that way you can make as many teapots, really as many as you want. And that's the easiest way to dose it with a bigger group. And that's how we've done some festivals as well. You just keep your truffle tea bag in your cup, and then you can come for a tea refill, and then you're extracting from the same truffle again. So it's not like you keep redosing yourself because the dose is still 2 grams. It's just you're having another extraction of it.
Yeah, that's great. And it gets less over time, the amount you're getting over time. Yeah, that's really great. I know this sounds like really technical, but I just want to give people an idea. So it's like the new tea party.
Yeah.
It's like an adult's tea party, which I think is a really funny, not funny, but fun idea. Because I have in the past and still do have people over for wine all the time, or to drink a beautiful bottle of wine together is some of the best experiences of my life have been sharing a really beautiful bottle of wine. And so I think this is another experience, like you said, to go deeper. Or maybe if you have a friend that you want to go get to know a little bit better or something, this is such a beautiful way to be able to have just a little bit less of a anxiety together without being kind of out of it on alcohol. Like you're saying, we keep saying things, but I just want people to understand how subtle it is, that it's just not, I think that's the biggest thing I hear is, oh no, I've had bad experiences on psilocybin. And it's like, but this isn't you on a high dose of psilocybin. This is you on alcohol light.
Yeah, exactly. I like to compare it just like the tipsy feeling that you get with alcohol. It's just that, oh, I'm feeling like relaxed. I'm feeling easy. I'm feeling good. I have a good mood, but that's as much as it goes.
Yeah. And what I've heard and experienced with alcohol is it has a half-life of like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And so then you feel worse and then you take another drink and then to feel better. And so that is what I think most people leads to drinking a little bit too much and those hangovers. And that's just not
alcohol.
the same.
Alcohol is an addictive drug, right? And psilocybin is not. So it's much more easy to just be like, yeah, alcohol is fixing this and fixing that. And then with the happy tea, it's like, oh, I'm fixed. Maybe I don't need it anymore,
Yeah. You feel you don't need more to keep feeling better. Yeah. So yeah, that's really, really, I just wanted to get into the nitty gritty of it with you because I think that it's really important for people to understand that it's not a druggy feeling. It's not dangerous. It's not like you're going to be feeling high even. And so I think that that's hard to understand and good to spell out for the people listening. And so what is your vision? Like, in 5 years, what is your dream for Microdosing Together?
Yeah. So, like you said, like tea parties, tea can be cool. And I think that's kind of one of our intention is to make tea cool. Make having tea parties cool, just like introducing a new way to socialize. And so that can be on so many different levels. And I think one of the big dreams is to create a space where that's totally normal and totally accessible. And so maybe that's
like a coffee. So like not a coffee house, like a cafe for tea.
Yeah. Or maybe like a bar, but a happy tea bar, right? So let's
open that today. Let's open that today.
That's needed now. So it's definitely something on our mind. Obviously there's legalities involved and we have to kind of, our dream is to work with the government on this and to actually create like a pilot project for the world, being like, this could be an alternative bar that everyone can enjoy, right? But yeah, with the Netherlands, it's very open and the laws are a little bit lucid, but it's still a bit old school in that way. So it would take quite a bit of work to do something like that. But that's kind of the big dream. And then more of the small dreams is to innovate and create some more products that are a little bit more accessible, a little bit more convenient. So obviously with the tea requires you to have a teapot and have a kettle and to really have the time to kind of make the tea and prepare it. So that's why we're actually getting into chocolates now, and we're going to be launching our chocolates very soon. They're almost ready. And the chocolates work the same. So the idea is that you combine the truffle with the chocolate and then you eat it all together and it completely masks the taste. So it becomes an enjoyable experience. And so with that, we're hoping to get more into edibles now and show a different way of doing it. And of course, with the tea, we love it because you're extracting opposed to eating the full thing. So with the chocolate, it's a bit of a different experience, but we'll definitely, obviously, provide resources and education about that as well. And then we would like to innovate even more and get into, beverages that are just a bit more convenient to drink. So, canning them or bottling them, and then doing it that way. So that's something we're also working on, but it's quite a long project. So hopefully we'll give more details about that soon.
Yeah, great. Well, I really look forward to people learning about this and they can try out your products. We'll put all of that in the show notes and the website and everything. But how is the best place for people to reach you if they have questions?
Yeah, I mean, just DMing us on Instagram is the best way, or sending us an email, or just come by our shop. So we have a shop in the east of Amsterdam, and we accept walk-ins, so you can come anytime. Or if you actually want to book a tea session and actually have some tea and talk about microdosing, and we can also suggest the right protocol for you and all of these things, you're welcome to do that. We're very open to have these conversations with everyone. So if you just want to chat over DM, or if you want to talk face-to-face, both options are available.
That's so great. Thanks so much for your time today and telling us about all this stuff.
No
and we'll put everything in the show notes, and have a great day.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed our show. For the latest insights on living internationally, join us at houseofperegrine.com to find out how you can connect with our community. Let's craft our life story with intention together.